Now you did one more album with Santana after Welcome. Lotus was not really available in America
Right,
for many years. This was
right,
strictly a Japanese import, correct?
right.
Yeah. And then you did one more album after Welcome, right? Borboleta.
Borboleta, correct.
Okay, which is another terrific album. We're big fans of that album also. And then you left the band, correct?
I left the band. Yeah, I left the band. I like to say I left the band on the second side, third cut. Um, Everybody in the original band had been gone for some time now, and Carlos and I were still moving in this direction. And then I think Carlos and I sort of had not a specific falling out, but it was time to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so,
Were you still getting a lot of pressure from the label and so on like that?
no, no,
No,
it
is this
wasn't
all
coming from
personal?
the label. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
all personal. Carlos, was wanting to play with other people, and
Mm-hmm.
or wanting me to play like other people. So on this album, there are a lot of other musicians. Without getting into detail, I'd say it was just time to go.
Mm-hmm.
So Borboleta was the last, record that I played.
That was 75?
74.
74. Okay. And then after that, was that when you formed Automatic Man? Did you do that right away, or did you take some time off
I
first?
took some time off,
Okay.
and then I put that thing together. Yeah.
We've played the Automatic Man album quite a bit on the show. Do you look back at that with is that a cool thing in your catalog, or what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean,
There
it
were
was,
two albums, but you're only on the first one, right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I put together very seriously, and then moved the band over to England to live and record. In retrospect, I'm proud of the record. I'm proud of the process of us as a band, the way we got to it. I'm not proud where it ended up, and in the live performances that we did. But I think it was a record that was kind of a forerunner of some groups like Power Station that was
Mm-hmm.
trying to combine like funk and rock and roll.
It was a terrific band, great players.
Yeah, really great players. And in the end, it didn't end well. And so we have that record, and there's that. Sort of after that, I moved from the Bay Area to New York City. I should have learned from Automatic Man, but I put another like pop band together called Novo Combo.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, every time I put those kind of bands together, they end up in disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So, although I have put a band together but not released anything from a couple years ago here in Seattle with vocals again. In fact, 2 drummers plus percussion, 2 guitars. It's kind of a cool band called Tangletown.
Okay.
But I've kind of shied away from any kind of band that is looking for big success because it always seems to not end up well, and I think it's because of the intentions behind it. So
Mm-hmm.
right now, I'm more or less sticking with just, playing drums. So I want to play drums and
Yeah.
making as beautiful music as I can without thinking of how big the band can get.
Right. Right. Now you played with a lot of other people for a while. You played with Stomu Yamashita and Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and I'm missing some people, I'm sure. But the Stomu Yamashita albums are those are terrific albums, especially the Go Live in Paris. We've played that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Stomu was somebody that I was looking for even when I was in Santana, because I had heard his solo albums, which were always fascinating percussion records, pretty avant-garde as well.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievably fascinating guy. I really wanted to meet him. And finally I met him after like a 250-day tour. The last day in Rome or something, we finally hooked up and we met and talked about doing something together. Now, what I wanted to do was his avant-garde percussion type of thing, and I didn't realize that he was looking into moving more into the pop world.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called me and said he's got Steve Winwood and he's, got this guy from Germany named Klaus Scholz, who I wasn't familiar with, and so he wanted to go into, a vocal pop thing, but with avant-garde overtones and lasers at the show and
Huh.
stuff like that. But yeah, I'm proud to have been associated with him and even to know him. He was and he is still a pretty fascinating figure.
right. Anything else we want to talk about from that period? Because we're going to move into the 80s and some of the stuff you did in
Now
the
we
80s.
can move on.
Okay, cool. Now you did a couple of different albums that were more electronic based in the 80s, did you not?
Yes.
Okay. And how would you describe those, and what were the intentions behind them?
Well, one of them was called Transfer Station Blue, which was a component of my meeting Klaus Schultz in the Go Project. And I had never met anybody like him or heard any music like he made, and I was pretty fascinated by it. So I would get his records, which were, big, like Wagnerian, electronic, German, sort of thing, and I was with the sequencers pulsing, and there was wonderful rhythmic aspects to his music aside from the size and scope of the music sonically as well. So I would listen to his records, and I would really love them until the drums came in, and then I didn't like them. And so I got a hold of him and just proposed, why don't we do something together? And so I went over there to Germany with my brother Kevin, who plays guitars, and we worked on what became Transfer Station Blue.
All right. And that was what year?
Oh, I don't know. You're supposed to know this.
I know. I'm sorry.
I can get my computer out.
It's okay. It's okay. I'll look it up later, and we'll know it for Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm not so great with chronological stuff.
We'll pretend like I knew. But and in 1989, you did a great album that I bought when it was new, and we still have it here at the station. Stiletto, that features some really great musicians. Mark Isham, Andy Summers, David Torn are all on this album. Really cutting edge players. And we're going to play a track from here. Tell us about this album.
Okay. Yeah, Transfer Station Blue was 1984, by the way.
1980. Okay. It says. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now we know.
Stiletto. Yeah.
Now, was this something that you really felt like you were able to express yourself?
Yeah.
An album? Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to do again. It's kind of like where I'm at now. I wanted to play drums, and I wanted to play with musicians that I respected, and it was like. I had also done a record. Let me go back a little bit. Very much in the same period, called The Big Picture with
David Beal,
which was also electronic, but not so electronic like Klaus Schultz. But the premise being that all the music on there was played with drumsticks on pads. So whatever sound is on there is whether it's a trumpet or a violin, is being triggered with a drumstick.
Wow. Okay.
Very long process, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that what happens is that I then want to play the drums and play with musicians and get back to some kind of roots for myself. And Stiletto was very much like that. I think very much in the same way that Spellbinder is now. And so I wanted to use two guitars. So David Torn was a friend, a very wonderful exploratory sonic genius on guitar, and Andy Summers from the Police. I had gotten to know, and he was a fan of David Torn, so hooking them up was a nice thing. And Mark Isham was a wonderful trumpet player, and he was just starting to be known in the film circles as well. So I went in and I wrote a bunch of music and went in and recorded with them. A bass player from Scandinavia named Terje Gevelt as well on upright bass. So I enjoyed making that record a lot. I felt really good about that.
We'll play something from the album. This is Las Vegas Tango, which is a Gil Evans composition, is it not?
It's a Gil Evans tune, which has always been one of my very, very favorite pieces of music. I travel with it everywhere and play it late at night. And so the whole orchestra section in the front is just Mark Isham alone, but programming his harmonizer to do all the parts, so it's kind of cool.
Okay. Well, here's Las Vegas Tango from the album Stiletto from 1989, Michael Shrieve.